Do you think voter ID laws are racist?
I think so.
Most of the motivation behind them being put into place is rooted in racism.
I think voter ID laws are inherently discriminatory. When you look, the vast majority of people who do not currently have IDs are people of color.
Do you have an ID?
Absolutely.
Can you show us?
Yeah.
What do you have to say to all the people that say black Americans can't get voter ID?
I don't even know why they would say that. We can get the same things that every other American can get. That doesn't even make sense to me.
Republicans are just trying to make it really fucking hard for minorities to vote
Why do they do that?
because they hate black people. They fucking hate black people and they're racist.
The black population is like historically much more financially disadvantaged.
Today we can sometimes see that sort of continuation of racism through our voting system in education and things like that. And typically people who are less educated are less likely to vote.
You're disproportionately making people who don't have IDs, which are usually people of color, have to go out and pay to vote, which is going to disencourage a lot of those people from voting.
Do you have an ID?
I do,
Can you show us your ID?
for sure.
What would you say to all the people that say black Americans can't get voter ID?
Seek help. I mean, in America, the legacy of white supremacy, of perpetuating negative stereotypes for black and brown bodies, that's why they would think like that, but it's 2023, man, almost 2024. It's time to seek help for that.
So do you think voter ID laws suppress the African American vote?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Why?
they might require a specific type of ID, when I had to get a new passport, it was over $100, so that definitely also roots out the lower classes in general.
They're not going to want to vote if they have to go spend all that money to be able to do so.
A lot of minorities are suffering from poverty. When you make people pay money to get IDs, a lot of times people just won't vote. They won't think it's worth it. They don't have the extra money to spend, Yeah, they're not going to put the couple dollars that they have into voting for somebody who's probably not even going to help them out.
Do you have an ID?
Yes, I do.
Can you show us your ID? Perfect. What do you have to say to all the people that say that black Americans can't get voter ID?
Well, I think it's pretty stupid. We're in a country where all of us are majority educated and we have the resources at our hands and our disposal to easily find these things. So I think anybody saying that is just dumb. That's a really ignorant and stupid thing to say.
Why do you think it's so much harder for black Americans to obtain voter ID?
It's generally the history of racism. We say we fixed it, but the system was basically built from the ground up in racism.
Do you think it suppresses the African American vote?
Yes, I do.
Why?
In the past, we've seen, African Americans being given tests that have nothing to do with what voting is about, just in order to obtain a voting license or voter identification. So I think that that's something that we're still seeing remnants of today.
All
right, guys, I was gonna let it play through, but I gotta comment. By the way, welcome to Make a Reaction Reviews. We react to review to things on the internet. We are reacting to Man vs. Street. This was uploaded 5 days ago and it has over 100,000 views. There's so much wrong with this. One person said, when he asked, why do you think people think that voter ID is racist, and he said they're stupid. The ironic thing is, most people who think like this are university students. Just FYI. The idea that black people don't have enough money to get an ID, I think it's maybe it's different now. It has to range from $12 to 20 something dollars, from a state ID to a driver's license. You don't think black people got a couple of bucks? We so poor. Oh, master, we so poor. Oh my god, we so poor. No. If you can go get a burger, you can get an ID. Seriously, if you get a cup of coffee, you get an ID. You get a bus fare, you get an ID. This is insane to me that they think this. So I guess that was the part where the guy said you have to pay to vote. I guess that would be everybody, though. So it should be equal across the board. If white people have to pay to vote, Chinese people have to pay to vote, Asian people, black people have to pay to vote. If he's talking about getting an ID, I was kind of confused. What do you mean we gotta pay to vote? In the past, we've seen things of racism. Past. It's the present, bitch. Live in the present moment. We don't live in the past anymore. Get your head stuck out of your fucking ass. Taking a test to vote, I never heard of that. I hope she still is talking about the past and she doesn't actually think black people today have to take a test to vote. That one black girl who was speaking very much like a pro-black woke, but I agreed with her. I have always said the biggest dupe to the black community today is not racism. It's constantly this negative stereotype, this demoralization that we so po, we so oppressed, we're so victimized. That is the biggest dupe to the black community, and unfortunately some black people and some young black minds absorb that shit up like a sponge and is doing nothing to better their lives. Anywho, let's get back into the video.
What do you have to say to all the people that say black Americans can't get voter ID?
I say it's really a lie. It's all on really the person. If the person really want to get their ID, they can go get it. It's nothing really stopping them.
Why do you think it's harder for black Americans to obtain voter ID?
Well, it's a class issue, and because of systemic racism, it's usually people of color, so black Americans, who are at the bottom of the socioeconomic classes, which means that they will have the most trouble like having to pay to go get voter ID law or voter IDs.
You motherfuckers racist as hell. Why the fuck wouldn't black people have that? What's the difference between us and you?
Do you think it's harder for black Americans to sign up online to get their voter ID?
Harder, not necessarily, but less likely, yes.
Why?
In underfunded communities due to, redlining and gerrymandering, we see that there's lower education in those specific areas, which have a high amount of, minorities. And when you're less educated, you're less likely to vote. And I think that that's what makes it so difficult for people of color to vote.
Seek help. Medical professionals are everywhere. Mental health is a priority, and yeah.
White person, white liberal, white progressive, probably a female, come close. I want to say something to you. If this is how you think, follow her advice and seek some help ASAP. I try not to be hyperbolic because I think most people are good people and most people have good intentions. However, I do sometimes think white progressives are low-key, high-key racist. Just say. One last thing before I go. See, I have my jacket on. I was out on my way out the door. I forgot about one thing. You know who can't get an ID to vote? Illegal immigrants. Most likely the reason why politicians keep pushing this voter ID is racist, because black people can get IDs, illegal immigrants can't. And who are the illegal immigrants voting for? Just saying. Guys, tell me what you think of that video. And like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the bell to get some notifications when I do upload. All of that really does help with the algorithm, guys. You can donate, keep seeing this platform, and you guys have an amazing day. Bye!
Do you think voter ID laws are racist?
I think so.
Most of the motivation behind them being put into place is rooted in racism.
I think voter ID laws are inherently discriminatory.